Hi everyone, my name is Girardo. I am a fourth year YRDSB student, and I'm very excited to be sharing with you all my survivor guide. I'm really sorry that I couldn't be there in person, but I'm glad that I still get the opportunity to do so via video and webcam. So tonight I have my little survivor guide and tips, because I was just like you a few years ago, sitting there scared about how I'm gonna, survive university, and you're gonna be bombarded with a lot of information, but I promise you that every information you get there is definitely gonna help. It sure has helped me. I'm very grateful and very honored to have this opportunity and have all of the resources that have been given to us. Because we deserve it, because we are going to be working extra harder than any other university student, because we have to go through extra steps and extra miles to make sure that we get the education that we deserve. So a little bit about me. I went to Cardinal Carter Catholic High School in Aurora. It was the only high school at the time that was provided for me, especially with the close distance. It was a 45-minute commute, but it was a sacrifice I wanted to make myself for the education that I was getting. I also liked it because it was a hearing center with 14 plus students who also had a hearing loss. So it was kind of like a little close-knit family, and it was something I really, really enjoyed having. I didn't really have a great elementary school experience, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate with me on that. So having a hearing center with many other students who understand what you're going through, they get that you have a hearing loss because they too have a hearing loss, and it was just really nice to have that. I had great accommodations at that school. I had a quiet room, extra time for tests. The center itself was kind of like an accommodation for me. I had lunch there with my friends. It was a quiet space rather than going to the cafeteria with, all that noise around you. So it was just nice to have that. I suffered headaches a lot, so it was nice to have a quiet room to just sit, take a breather for a bit. The teachers themselves have been amazing. I don't know what I would have done without them. They have been amazing, like note-taking, just being a guidance counselor too. They want to make sure that you are getting what you want there, which is a great education, and you deserve it. And with all the accommodations I got, even in our family system, a laptop, so it was just great to be there. One of the other biggest things I loved was that I did learning strategies with them. And it was amazing because they taught me how to be a self-advocate. Because growing up, you had someone like them standing beside you, advocating for you. And while that is amazing and great, you have to also realize that when you go to university or college or whatever post-secondary decision you guys choose, you're not going to have that somebody beside you 24/7 advocating for you. So you need to advocate for yourself. And what they did is they made sure that you did that. And that helped me a lot. It made me step out of my zone, step out of my bubble, and I've never felt more confident and secure that I could do that. I was a very shy person. I wasn't really outspoken, and high school really helped change me for the better. I went from being in a little Catholic bubble to being in a huge, real world where everything's new, everything's big, everything's crazy. And I mean that in a good way, but you have to learn how to adjust it. And that's what I felt like high school prepared me for. Some of the challenges I faced in university, luckily I didn't have that many, but when I did, I turned to self-advocacy. I'm going to be mentioning that a lot in this video because I think it's the most important thing anyone can have. Basically, with my challenges, I'm in a media production program, and the one thing I do not like is audio-related classes. I was very worried that I was going to fail those because, I'm hard of hearing, and I knew that wasn't a stream I wanted to get into. But I realized that in first year, I had to have a mandatory audio class. So what I did is I talked to the teacher who ran the class, told her my situation, and it was amazing to do that because she helped me a lot. She said, oh, you know what? Wow, I'll make sure to caption the videos for you, or I'll make sure, she kind of watched out for me because my biggest thing was I'm going to fail because maybe I misheard the instruction or the sound or whatever the case may be. I cannot listen or hear things without captions. So that's the biggest challenge I had. The other challenge I had was I had a professor who pretty much denied my right to have accommodations. He didn't feel the need to wear a microphone, my FM system, and he did not like that I had a note taker typing in class. He was one of those old fashioned professors that, you had to write everything down, no laptops allowed, no electronics allowed. And I've been in classes where that happened, but the professor understood that I needed a laptop to do my notes. The only way to overcome this kind of challenge is doing something that's very hard, and that is to stand up for yourself. Because with that, you know that you're standing up for not only yourself, but future students who might have professors like these. I had to go through so many meetings that were very exhausting. It was a sociology class, so I had to go through the dean of sociology, then the dean of the bigger program that sociology is in. Then I had to go through the dean of Ryerson, and it was just not pretty. It was exhausting. I felt defeated. I'd never been treated like that before. And it was just awful. But I knew that the reward in the end was that I made people aware that this was happening, and students and teachers can know that this is not acceptable. Like, we have a human right to get what we deserve, and that is our accommodations. I think the best thing that I can give you guys in terms of advice is to learn how to be a self-advocate. Self-advocacy is very, very important that you need to learn for the rest of your life. We've grown up with the luxury of having our parents and healing teachers be our voices, but now that we are on the path of being adults, we also have to learn how to do things by ourselves. It's challenging, it's hard, it definitely was hard for me at first, but once I learned how to be a self-advocate, I felt that I gained that independence, that confidence that I was talking to you about before. And it's important to have that, Once you guys have accepted the university or college of your choice, the number one thing you need to do right away is talk to a student advisor or accommodation center. Every school has a different name, but go to a student disability center, access center, whatever that's called, because that person will be the advocate for you. But you also have to learn how to do it yourself. Right away you want to go there and say, "Hi, my name is so-and-so, I am deaf, and these are the accommodations I need." And they'll make sure that you get that. They'll make sure that if you do have any issues or problems with professors like the one that I had, they'll be there to help you make sure that you get that accommodation you need. And that's important because, you want to make sure that you have a good education. You don't want your disability to stop you from, getting the grades you need, the grades you want. And another thing that I want to tell you all is let your professors know that you are hard of hearing. I've heard in the past of people who are very shy and very embarrassed about their hearing loss, and that's totally normal and totally appropriate to feel that way. But I think that if you don't tell your professor that you have a hearing loss, then maybe it'll be a little bit challenging for you. Now, I'm not here to tell you that go, yell out to the whole world that you're hard of hearing. You have that right to keep that to yourself. That's your right, your privacy. But I think that once you tell a professor that you are hard of hearing and you give them the accommodation list that they need, they want to make sure that you are getting the education and support that you deserve. They're not going to use it in a negative way. I mean, I hope not. I know I had that experience, but most of them don't. They want to make sure that you are getting what you need and getting the grade that you deserve and making sure that you got all the information you need, Thank God that we live in a social media world and we live in a technological world, because usually they'll say stuff online, they put it on a PowerPoint or they'll email it to you. But if it's a very vocal professor, you may not get the information you need. There's a test next week. Maybe you missed that. You need to know that. That's very important, You don't want your disability to be the reason you're failing the grade. And, sometimes, yes, that's hard. Maybe that might be the reason. But you just have to learn that with self-advocacy, you will get what you deserve. And I cannot stress that enough. If you have a note taker, you do not have to sit next to your note taker. Some people are embarrassed about that. I don't want people to know that I have the note taker. That's totally fine. I sat with my note taker because I wanted to see her screen. She was kind of like my captioner for me. So if I did miss stuff, I, quickly referred to the laptop, but you definitely don't have to sit next to the note takers. She can sit in another room and she can blend in like as if she's a student herself. So I know that tonight you guys have been provided with a lot of information, and definitely it's overwhelming, and I hope that you can kind of feel at ease or at peace knowing that we have so many great and wonderful resources. And what I kind of did was prepare a little slide that I want to share with you guys. And they're basically tips that I went through and what I found helpful as a deaf student going from high school to university. So check it out. I hope you like it. I'm going to be providing these PowerPoint slides to Lynn Peck. So if you would like to have them again, if you missed what I wrote down there, definitely email her. And at the end of this video, I'm going to be putting my own slide, my own email up there. So you can definitely message me and I'll make sure to give you the PowerPoint. So check it out. So one of the things I noticed from high school to university is not only I had the wonderful opportunity of being in a healing center, that also meant that I had a great opportunity to have an FM system given to me for free, but obviously to borrow. The one thing I noticed is going to university, you don't really have that. You have to go out and purchase your own FM system. This is obviously a personal preference. Some people use FM systems and some people don't. I knew that I needed it. So I had to pay for that. And it was more expensive than I, wished that it would be. But I did know that, there's a lot of other resources to help me pay for that. I hope that this will be talked tonight, but we do have a lot of financial opportunities to help pay for that, such as OSAP, ODSP, scholarship bursaries, things like that to help you pay. I know that Union Hearing was the place that I went to purchase my FM system, and they were amazing in making sure that, I was taken care of well, I got the FM I needed, and that's what I did. So every day I carry my FM system with me. Some people thought that they were, the FM system that I had specifically was a recorder. So we got to make sure that you communicate that, no, it is not a recorder. It is just a microphone for me to hear. Because what you should expect going into university or college, everyone's situation is different. It depends on what program you get into. But depending on what you get into, you do have to realize that the classrooms are much different than your high school. So you're in high school, you're used to a small classroom, 30-something desk, and there you go. Well, depending on what you want to get into, you might be in classrooms with 500 to 1,000 students. That sounds scary and overwhelming, and I know it is. So what can you do to make sure that, you're bettering yourself in this situation? Well, sometimes you want to sit in the back seat, or you want to sit, wherever you want, but if you can't hear the professor, that's not going to really work out. So see if you can get accommodations to have, sit in the front row and make sure that you can hear your professor. And that's the best thing. And that really helped me. I made sure that was in my accommodation, and a professor always made sure to save me the spot when I went in. So that was great. With the FM system, again, that helped. So if you are in a situation where that happens, just don't freak out, don't panic. Just make sure that you're getting the right spot for yourself. And because I'm not there with you in person to answer any questions, please feel free to message me. I definitely would love to help you in any way possible. No question is ever silly. So please, don't be worried about that. I would love to help you out. So over here, contact me. Over here. And if you just missed that, you can definitely contact Karen Teddy Smith or Lynn Peck. They have my email, so they can definitely pass that along to you. So good luck and have fun. Bye.